Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namaha Pankajanabhaya Namaha Pankajamaline Namaha Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangriye. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 32. Yes. Yadrichaya chopapannam Svargadvaram ana apavritam Sukhinah kshatriya partha labante yuddhamidrisham. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Purport. As Supreme Teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna who said, I do not find any good in this fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell. Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Parashara Smriti, or religious codes made by Parashara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated, Kshatriyo hi praja rakshan shastra panini pradandayam nirjitya para sainyadi kshitim dharmena palayet. The Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus with religious principles he should rule over the world. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom, and if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitam Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. A hearty welcome to everybody for the Bhagavad Gita class on today, Sunday evening. So last week, His Grace Mukundmala Prabhu had done up to verse number 31. And today we will be proceeding further up to verse number 38. Because from verse number 31 to 38 is a common theme. And we will just discuss about that now. Up to verse number 11 to 30, the second chapter, Krishna is speaking about knowledge of the soul. So he is educating Arjuna that please try to understand you are not this body. Do not base your decisions on bodily considerations. You are apart from this body, spirit, soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, divine in nature, different from the stature of a body. Body is temporary, soul is eternal. And therefore he gives him various examples and explains to him. Now, he is going further because there are people who are not able to understand the soul, even today and even at that time. So Arjuna is representing all of us. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. Arjuna is standing as a representative for each one of us. And so among the population, there is a cross-section of people, some who are ready to accept the soul The reason why there is difficulty in accepting the soul is you cannot see the soul. You cannot touch it. By any of your senses, you cannot relate to the soul. So it becomes abstract for some. Whereas others, with faith, with spiritual intelligence, not the material intelligence, with spiritual intelligence, they are able to relate with the soul. So then for them it becomes acceptable. For others it becomes very difficult to accept. So there will be such category of people also at all points of time. And therefore now Krishna is going to deal with Arjuna, giving that philosophy of karma kanda. Karma kanda means to work for one's own benefit. Mera kya? What will I get in this? If I do this, what will I get? So that consideration when a person begins to apply, that means he says, I will do something provided I get something in return. Fruitive activity. You are expecting the fruit of your activity for yourself, and therefore for such people, now Krishna is going to explain. He's already started from 31. So 31, 32 up to verse number 38. So he will go on explaining these points. So now what I will do is, I will just run through the other verses and then we can take the discussion together. Okay? I am not going to read the entire purports, but for the other verses, I will be reading the translation and the verse itself. Verse number 33. Atachetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatah swadharmam kirtim chahitva papam avapsyasi. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayashyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranad atirichyate. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Verse number 35. Bhayadranat uparatam mamsyante tvam maharataha yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Verse 36. Avacyavadamscha balum bahun vadishyanti tavahita nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkataram nukim. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What would be more painful for you? Verse 37. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya kritanishchayah. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Verse number 38. This is a very important verse. Samadukha same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. It's a very often quoted verse. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. So now, we will come back to our verse number 32 and start from there and go ahead. Yes. So translation is, O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. Arjuna is telling, I don't want to fight. मैं युद्ध नहीं करूँगा. Now Krishna is explaining to him why he should fight. He has already explained that you are not the body or the soul doesn't die, so even if you kill somebody, that person cannot be killed, because Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, no weapons can kill the soul. What will die will be the body, and the body is anyway going to perish, whether you kill or you don't kill, it's going to perish. It's not a permanent affair, it's only of a temporary nature. So you do your duty, do not withdraw from your duty. So you should go ahead and perform your duty. So Arjun, influenced by bodily and sentimental considerations, and Bhishma, what his consideration is, Bhishma is my great-grandfather or grand-uncle. Besides, he was always very affectionate towards us Pandavas. How can I kill him? This is his question. Drona was my teacher, taught me archery and warfare. How can I turn my knowledge and talent to kill him? But Bhishma was bound by his Bhishma Pratigya. Great vow. His mother was Ganga. Bhishma is also known as Ganga Putra because his mother was Ganga. Father was King Shantanu. After delivering the 8th child, who was actually Bhishma, actually the story goes like this. There were 8 Vasus in the upper planetary systems. And these 8 Vasus were very mischievous, mastikor. And among them, the last one was the most mischievous. So they offended some great sage and got a curse. So he said, you don't deserve to be in this upper planetary system, you better go down to the earth. So now they had to fall down. At that time, by the arrangement of the Lord, King Shantanu had married Ganga Devi, and now she was the one to give entry to these 8 Vasus into this world. So they were born to her one by one. She made a condition with King Shantanu. I will marry you provided you don't question my activities. What I will do some things you may understand, you may not understand. You may like it, you may not like it, but you must not question me. He said, okay, no problem, I will not question you. One by one the sons were born, and what she would do, as the child was born, she would take the child and leave the child in the river Ganga. And the child would die. For the king, this was becoming a very big question mark. Why is she doing this? Can a mother kill her own son? Can she kill her own child, infant, and just a newborn baby, leaving the baby in this river? But he kept quiet because that was the condition, otherwise she will go away. 7 children were taken away. The 8th child was born. And then he could not hold himself. She was just about to put the child in the water. He said, wait, please don't do it. Up to now I didn't tell you anything, but now I can't take it anymore. Why are you depriving me of my sons? What are you trying to do? She says, true to my promise, I hand over this child to you, but I am quitting now. She walks out. Now he is left with the child in his hand, and Ganga is gone, the mother is gone. So that child was named as Devabrat. And then later on when he grew up, King Shantanu, time went by, he grew up, he became a strong young man, very, very virtuous, very devotional. He had all the virtuous qualities in him. And then one day King Shantanu met a fisherman's daughter. Her name was Satyavati, but she was known by the name Padmagandha. And he proposed to her. He said, I would like to marry you. So the fisherman, her father, put a condition. He said, you are a king and you want to marry my daughter. I will give my daughter on one condition. Her children or her child should become the king and nobody else. At that time, Bhishma was quite young, grown up. So he took a vow to facilitate his father. He said, I take a vow. It was a great vow, and that is why it is known as Bhishma Pratigya. And he said, I will never marry in my life. Ajanma brahmachari rahunga. And then he also gave one more promise. Whoever sits on the throne of this kingdom, I stand to protect that person, whoever it may be, in the coming future. Bhishma had one benediction, Vardhan. That was, he had Ichha Mrityu. That means he will die only when he wants. He cannot be killed by anybody. So, therefore, he could be living for quite a long time, maybe down for 3-4 generations, we never know. So he had given these two assurances to Satyavati's father, and they agreed and the marriage went on. So, now, in the present context, what has happened is, sitting on the throne is Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhan, is the de facto king. And Bhishma is committed to protect the throne. So, Duryodhan was an adharmi. He was not in favor of dharma. He was doing adharmic activities or against the principles of religiosity. And so, therefore, what was happening is, now Bhishma was in a peculiar position. He had to fight for the sake of a king who is going against the principles of justice and truth. But he was bound by his pratigya. He is known for keeping his word. Vachan Baddha, that is what he was. So that is a background about Bhishma and how he stands in relation to protecting the throne of the kingdom. Though the Pandavas were very dear to him, and he knew that Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas, but by duty, by vow, he was forced to fight against the Pandavas, against Krishna. Okay. Okay. Though Krishna did not personally fight, he realized, yeah. Now, Bhishma was a great fighter. Very, very famous, and everybody admired his fighting capacities and skills. And now he was on the opposite side. So now, just see how various factors come into play. And how the opposing points of view are also getting resolved. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki. Therefore, now Krishna is telling Arjuna, fight under my instruction, you will be absolved of all the sins. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. I am giving you the instruction to fight, and you should fight. Though you may have to even kill Bhishma for that, but does not matter. I will take care to see that you don't get any reaction or any sinful reactions. This is the promise Krishna is giving to Arjuna. In various ways, he is trying to make him understand. Now Krishna is preaching the Karma Kanda philosophy. That means he says, perform your duty and gain material benefits. Now, but people in this world are at different levels of consciousness. First, he has spoken to him about the highest philosophy, that is, you are not the body or the soul. Now, Krishna is trying to address the general population. Most of the people in this world are for karma kanda. That means they want some benefit in return for whatever work they do. It's a very simple thing. Will anybody do a job if at the end of the month they don't get the salary? Will anybody take up a job like that? Obviously no. So this is the principle the whole world is working on. So now Krishna is addressing those class of people who do not understand very high values but who are tied down to immediate gain. Mera kya? That is their answer. Question. I will give you one example. About a few months back, I had been to one place nearby. We were doing a house program. And there, when I was speaking, they had some guest. And one of the guests was a dentist, a medical person. And at one point of time, he just expressed his thoughts. He said, let me tell you one thing. I cannot understand the soul. I cannot understand God. If he is there, why does he not come in front of me? That is his question. So this is exactly the class of people now Krishna is addressing. He is telling for the benefit of such people. He is telling, even if you don't believe in the soul, even if you are working for your own benefits and returns, even then there is all reason for you to fight. There is no reason for you to back out of fighting. That is what Krishna is trying to explain. The same thing also happened. Prabhupada, in the course of his travels, when he was establishing Krishna consciousness throughout the world, he went to USSR, Russia. And there he was not allowed to meet anybody excepting those whom the authorities would let him meet. So they took him to one university professor who was of very good fame over there. His name was Professor Kotowski. And this Kotowski told Prabhupada, when a person dies, everything is finished. There is nothing like the soul. See, such a highly knowledgeable person, professor, very high position in the university, but so far as spiritual knowledge is concerned, he was absolutely zero. So these are the kind of people for whom now Krishna is covering. Prabhupada was a great personality, was not an ordinary person. He was actually an ambassador from the spiritual kingdom. Great devotees and personalities, they enact their role in cooperation with the Lord to drive home a point to troubled people of this world. Actually, Prabhupada, he took so much pains in his life. Even if you look at the life of Bhishma, Bhishma was put in a big dilemma, what to do, to be or not to be. But then, these great personalities, they accept voluntarily these kind of situations because they are cooperating with the Lord to send a message to the people of the world. In the process, they suffer. But that suffering, they accept it as a service to the Lord. That is their greatness. That is what we have to appreciate. That is why they are great personalities. That is why we call them great. Bhishma is a Mahajan. And who is Prabhupada? He is acclaimed as Jagat Guru. See the momentous work that he has done. If we go abroad or talk to people whom we don't know, and you start talking about God or Krishna or Bhagavad Gita, what answers would you expect? Do you think people will sit patiently and listen to you? Not at all. They will dismiss you. Ja apna kaam kar, mujhe chhod, mujhe pakana mat. This is the common language. This is what they say. But what did Prabhupada do? He went boldly, preached, and that too without any money in his pocket, without anybody to help him. He ventured out alone, completely depending on his Guru. That my Guru, though he is physically not present, he is with me, he has given me the instruction, so he will give me the ability to discharge the instruction. That was his logic. And he acted on it. He didn't just imagine, but he acted on it, really, in all reality. And what was the result? He achieved something which nobody can imagine. Again, I'll repeat the statement which I always like to say. Prabhupada had internalized the Gita. He had internalized the knowledge of the Gita. He was living the Gita. That is why he was able to internationalize the Gita. He gave it to all the countries of the world. He gave it to all cross sections of the society. And today what we are finding is the magic of what he has done. ISKCON has got its branches in every country of the world and almost in all the cities. That was a prophecy made 500 years ago. Prithvi te achayadi nagaradi gram sarvatra prachara hoibe mora nam. And that was executed by Srila Prabhupada. So, they live their roles willing to undergo sufferings to prove to the people of the world the faith you repose in the Supreme Lord is never in vain. For them, nothing is impossible. He can even resolve your mountainous problems. पहाड़ जैसी समस्याओं का हल भगवान चुटकी में कर देते हैं. That is his capacity. And just to prove that, he lifted the Govardhan hill. Just think of it. Otherwise, the materialistic people will not agree, will not understand, will not be able to even realize and digest that knowledge. That here is a person who can do it. He is God. They will not be able to. Until and unless they see with their eyes, they touch and feel, they are not convinced. And that is there. He lifted the Govardhan hill just to drive home this point for such kind of people through all ages to come. That is his greatness. For 7 days and 7 nights, he was holding it up on the tip of the nail of his left hand. Can you imagine that? Can we hold even one stone? We can't do that. Forget 7 days, 7 nights. Even for 5 minutes, we can't hold a stone like this. And he was comfortably holding it. Because people are not able to relate to God and His potency, He gives such demonstration from time to time. So that even the gross materialists begin to develop faith and ultimately come to the point of surrender in love, not in fear. He is not holding the Govardhan hill in his hand, threatening to bring it down on those who do not surrender to him. He is not doing it that way. All the Brajvasis simply were drinking the nectar of Krishna's beauty and were oblivious of such a miraculous act that was taking place in front of their eyes. They were not worried that how can Krishna carry the Govardhan hill. No, they were on a different level. They were just relishing the beauty of Krishna, relishing the association of Krishna. They were pure devotees at heart. So this thing was a byproduct for them. Lifting the theek hai, Krishna can do anything. They are fully dependent on him, fully surrendered to Krishna. Krishna is not inducing blind faith, but opening the eyes of those blinded by the spell of sense pleasures, that is sense gratification. In 2.33, the next verse, it is mentioned, Krishna says, not by fighting, but by not fighting you will incur sins. Arjuna is telling that I will incur sins if I fight. Krishna is telling it's not like that. If you don't fight, you will incur sins. How come? Arjuna was a great fighter. He had fought Lord Shiva himself, who then gifted him the Pashupata Astra. Drona gave him the weapons by which he could even kill his own teacher. Indra was his adoptive father. All the favors of the personalities, of these personalities, would be discredited if he did not fight. This is what Krishna is explaining. Such great personalities are supporting you to fight, and if you don't, you are letting them down. Bhishma had blessed Arjuna to be victorious and was in fact happy to be downed by him. He could not be killed by anyone. He would die by his own will. Ichha Maran. Actually, we know that it was Arjuna's arrows which brought down Bhishma, but he was lying on a bed of arrows. He was happy to be so treated by Arjuna. 34, verse number 34. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Better die in battle as a brave warrior than be subject to such infamy. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Verse number 35. The great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, will not think you have quit the battle out of compassion for them, but they will think you are quitting the battle out of fear. Tu dhar ke bhag raha hai. They will think like that about you. They will ridicule you. Verse number 36. Your enemies will describe you in unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Such compassion is non-Aryan. Verse number 37. Either you will be killed in the battlefield and attain heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Get up with determination and fight. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. And the verse number 38, the final verse. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Krishna is giving a guarantee to Arjuna, because Arjuna is worried. This was the question he had asked in chapter 1. I will be incurring sins by killing people and by fighting. Now he is giving a reply to that question. You will not incur sin. And how? That we will see. Now Krishna is like giving a personal order. He says, fight for my sake. When a soldier shoots on the instruction of his commander, he is not charged for murder. Rather, he is honored. If you kill as per the dictates of Dharma, because Krishna is telling you have to fight, you are fighting a Dharma Yuddha. Your Dharma is you are a Kshatriya. And the Dharma of a Kshatriya is to fight and die in the battle rather than run away from the battle. Even if you die, you will get a heavenly kingdom, doesn't matter. And if you win, you will get the earthly kingdom. Either way you win. So why do you worry? It is a win-win situation. But who is Krishna? Krishna is Dharma personified. So as per the dictates of Dharma, if you kill, he says you will not incur sin. But Krishna, who is standing in front of him, is the personification of Dharma, and Krishna is telling him you will not incur sin. Why? Because Arjuna is fighting the war based on principles of Dharma. Arjuna is fighting against adharma. Arjuna is not fighting adharma. He is not fighting for adharma. He is fighting against adharma. You have only discharged your dharma when you fight, so you will not incur sin. If you act on behalf of Krishna, then you are on the transcendental platform and not on the material platform. So how can there be sin? Arjuna has already surrendered to Krishna. Karpanya dosho, verse number 2.7, if you remember, earlier we did that. So it is like Krishna telling, if you have already surrendered to me, then follow my instructions. I guarantee there will be no sin for you. Krishna ki guarantee. That's what he is telling. This he is telling each one of us. Actually, this is for each one of us. If you remain within the boundaries of dharma, you will be protected, will not incur sin. In the last lecture, Mukundmala Prabhu had mentioned this line. You have to act within the boundaries of Dharma, then you will not incur sin. To understand this line, let us take one example. There is a shepherd, भेड़िया जो भेड़ चराता है, okay, and he is taking a flock of sheep and going, or some grazing some cattle, cows, whoever it may be, cowherd boy or anybody. So when they take these animals and go for grazing, they generally have one system. They have a boundary, and the animals also understand that not to go beyond this boundary. They may put up fencing or they may have some other method of doing it, but they will have a boundary. Why? Because after that boundary, the forest begins. So they don't let animals go into the forest. What is the problem if they go into the forest? There are wild animals there. They will attack and eat the animals. To protect them, they say, stay within the boundaries. Similarly, dharma is the boundary, the fencing which Krishna has given us. We are like that cattle. So long as we remain within the boundaries of dharma, we are safe from being falling down, from falling down to temptations or falling down to becoming victims of unjust elements. Recently you read so many news articles are coming. People are getting raped, people are getting killed, they are getting looted by antisocial elements and such people. What happens generally? Such things happen. Why? Because there are such elements in the society. So therefore you have a military, a police department to keep them in check. And that is why it is said, violence has to be applied to maintain law and order, to maintain dharma in the society, and to maintain sanity in the society. Otherwise, if these people are not checked, they go unchecked, then what happens? They create chaos and they make things intolerable and disharmonious for the society to function. So therefore, violence is necessary. It is not, but it has to be on the principles of dharma. That is the important point. It is not like you take a gun and start shooting anybody. That kind of violence is not permitted. It is for a higher value. You don't shoot anybody and everybody. You resort to violence so that there is proper peace and harmony in the society. That is the reason. Similarly, he tells us, if you follow my instructions, we may not have a one-to-one relation with Krishna, but if we surrender to his strictures of dharma, that is, what is the stricture of dharma? That is our prescribed duty. In whatever position we are born, in whatever position we are placed, if you follow the rules and regulation that you are supposed to do according to that position, if you are a student, you should study. If you are a parent, you should guide, you should take care, you should protect the children, and so on and so forth. So everybody has some prescribed duties. So if you follow those prescribed duties, what are you doing? It means you are surrendering to the will of Krishna. And therefore Krishna is insisting, do not withdraw or back up out of your duty. Do not back up from your duty. Back out of your duty. Sorry, not back up. Do not back out of your duty. If you back out of your duty, means you are going against dharma. That is what Krishna is explaining here. If you say, I will not fight, means now you are becoming adharmic. You should fight. Doesn't matter if you die. If you die, you will get a heavenly kingdom. Otherwise, you will get the earthly kingdom. Here, Arjuna is told, your duty is to fight. O Kshatriya, stand up and fight. Working in this consciousness is technically called Nishkama Karma or Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Detached work on the platform of knowledge. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan defines Buddhi Yoga as Nishkama Karma Yoga, incorporating Jnana within itself. These are all details mentioned in some beautiful commentaries given by advanced devotees of Prabhupada. Braj Bihari Prabhu. Nishkam Karma can be on two levels. Strong conviction I am not this body, and that person is detached from the results of his work. So one person who is living on the platform of the soul, not of the body, he becomes detached from the results of his work. Nishkama means he is not expecting any results for what activity he is doing. He will do it as a matter of duty. He will do it as an offering. To say a firm no to something, one must have a strong yes for some other thing. You see, you need to have attachment somewhere. When you are walking, what do? One leg on the ground, other leg in the air. Then you bring that leg down, and only then you lift the other leg. So one leg is always on the ground. That means in life, we need to have some attachment. We can't be completely detached. So what is it? If you are attached to the spiritual platform, you automatically will be detached from the material disturbances. Now Arjuna is materially disturbed, and that is why Krishna is giving him that spiritual attachment. You cannot give up unless you have something better. When attached to the soul, one gets detached from bodily pleasures and allurements. One who has knowledge of Krishna, the second category of people, one is those who are attached to the soul, they get detached from the material pleasures. But those now who have knowledge of Krishna, not only know that I am a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, but also know, being his part and parcel, I am eternally his servant. They know that additional information. Such a person offers the fruits of his actions wholly to Krishna, even while not anticipating any favorable results. Such a person is working, in the course of his work, he may get some favorable result, but he doesn't take credit for himself. He says, I am servant of Krishna. So if this has come my way, this belongs to my master. This is not mine. So he surrenders everything to Krishna. He is detached to the results, and even if any results do come, he takes no credit and turns it over to Krishna as his eternal master. For such a person, both categories, category 1 and category 2, there are no sins. Without consideration of loss or gain, doing everything for Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there can be no reactions to such actions. You see the dioramas that are placed outside here, just as you go on the left side. You will find Lord Krishna, Brahma, Vyasdev, and this is the Guru Shishya Parampara, Narad Muni, and so on and so forth. So they are all in Parampara, up to Prabhupada himself, and now this movement is going on further by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and the Guru Shishya Parampara continues. So what we have to understand from this is, this is not a movement that is an offshoot of any fad or fashion, but firmly rooted in the Guru Shishya Parampara, starting from Krishna himself, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, and down to the line up to Prabhupada, and now expanding all over the world under his able disciples, the ISKCON Gurus. So I think I will now stop here, but I will like to share something with you, because we spoke about Dharma today. So a few lines on this. Yeah. What we have to understand is, धर्म ये नहीं कहता संसार को छोड़ो, धर्म ये कहता है संसार में भगवान को जोड़ो. It is a positive thing, not a negative thing, not to give up, but to add. So in Hindi, a few lines are there. धर्म कहता संसार न छोड़ो, जीवन में भगवान को जोड़ो. आंधी आए या तूफान, रखना तुम उन पर विश्वास. गोवर्धन को छत बना के वो रखेंगे तुम्हें अपने पास. शस्त्रों से जो नहीं है कटता, अग्नि में जो नहीं है जलता, पानी में जो नहीं पिघलता, वायु से भी नहीं जो सूखता, आत्मा के तो है ये लक्षण, जो है उनका अंश विलक्षण. आत्मा और भगवान है वैसे, चिंगारी ज्वाला है जैसे. दूरी से वो दूर न जाते, इच्छा से वो पास है आते। नाम लो उनका हंसते गाते, वक्त न खोना रोते रोते। देते हैं वह यह आश्वासन, है सब मेरे लिए समान। कोई मेरा दोस्त न दुश्मन, मत हो जाना तुम हैरान। हाँ वो है कुछ अलग निराले, प्रेम से गर तुम उनसे जुड़ते, ऐसे फिर वो जुड़ेंगे तुमसे, जैसे प्रेमी नहीं बिछड़ते। अब भी क्या तुम नहीं समझते, क्यों दुनिया में रहे उलझते। कर्तव्यों को चलो निभाते, नाम में उनकी सदा ही रमते। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. This is the simple solution. Just chant the holy names and everything will fall in place because He is in control. That is, yeah, that's a nice line also which explains that point. Yeah, that is not able to get it right now. Anyway, so we have, what did Arjuna do? He handed over the reins of the chariot to Krishna, isn't it? And he said, you take charge of my chariot. So that is symbolic. For us, it means, let us hand over the reins of our life to Krishna. And then He will guide us and He will carry us forward. For that, we only have to surrender to Him. And that is why we chant His holy names. So, thank you very much. If there is any question, we'll just take one, and otherwise we can go ahead for the kirtan. Kirtan will start very shortly now. If there is any question or anything anybody would like to ask, say, comment or anything, then we can take it. Otherwise, we can stop it right here. Okay? So now the kirtan party has arrived here. So very shortly, I think at 8:50, Darshan will open. Till then, you can participate in the kirtan. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.